Yeah, one of the biggest news rocking the Nigerian pharmaceutical or, in fact, healthcare industry has been the shutdown of GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, in Nigeria after over 50 years of operations, with the economic downturn being cited as one of the main reasons. As you can see from this article here, GSK announced the development in a statement sent out to the Nigerian exchange, and it disclosed that it will shut down its production line in Nigeria due to unfavorable economic situation. The company said it plans to stop its operations after evaluating the options for moving to a third-party distribution model for its pharmaceutical products. So I think for people who are aware of this news, we know that GSK is stopping its operations, but we should just also bear in mind that because they are stopping their operations as a operational entity, they will not stop selling their products in the country. So they are adopting going to be selling their products through a third party distributor. So GSK products will still be very much available for consumption in the Nigerian market. We know that GSK is known for popular products like Ventin, Panadol, and so on and so forth. This is very sad news. We know that they employ quite a number of people in the industry, which means a lot of people are going to be pushed into the unemployment line. As you can see here, the company employs over 290 people. They, however, assured that all necessary legal proceedings will be met as regards their employees and shareholders, and they said they will take care of them. I think it's also important to note that sometime in 2022, GSK kind of restructured itself and developed a subsidiary known as Helion, which actually took over some of their more consumer healthcare products. The Helion has also discussed with his own board that they would also be leaving the country. So the products under the Helion group, products like Panadol, Sensodyne, and so on, will continue to be sold through, I believe, the distributor model as well. And of course, the shareholders are not very happy with this, and of course, they will have discussions among themselves for how this will be resolved. Anyway, we all know that this is big news, not very good news. Reflects a lot of the challenges that are happening within the economy of the country, and so on and so forth. This news was so big and shook the entire country to the point that even Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, made a very deep tweet about the situation. As you can see here, he says he was saddened to hear that GSK is exiting Nigeria after 51 years of operation. There's a follow-up article here from Sahara Reporters. So basically, Peter Obi made it very clear that due to the poor economic situation in the country, especially as regards forex, that's why GSK is leaving the country. We have some challenging counterpoints about that. Everybody acknowledges that economic challenges played a major role. However, you can see some other people on Twitter pointing out to the fact that the fact that this was happening in Nigeria is not unique to Nigeria alone. You can see somebody pointing at GSK also left Kenya before they left Nigeria as well. So that's just something to consider, that yes, the economic issues would have played a part, but I think there's more to the story, and that's what we want to explore in this video. So I think we need to go back to 2018, January 2018, as you can see from this Reuters article. Drug maker GSK cuts back in Africa to own emerging markets model. So what does that mean? GSK, this was January 2018, decided to cut back operations in Africa as its new chief executive, Emma Wamsley, seeks to make the British drug maker more competitive in emerging markets by ditching her predecessor's expansion plans for the continent. I believe the predecessor was somebody called Andrew Whitty, who had more of a expansion in Africa type model. But when the new CEO, who is Emma Wamsley, came on board, she decided to take a different approach to make, maybe the company more profitable in the in African markets. So as you can see here, they said the move, which a GSK spokesperson said would result in an unspecified number of job losses in sub-Saharan Africa following disappointing sales from many pharmaceutical companies in the region. Remember, this is back in 2018. So just going to skip here. So she said GSK would create a new, more competitive operating model for its emerging markets business, which sets the stage for African shake-up. So basically what is being said here is what is being adopted in Nigeria today, which is being whereby, yes, they are leaving the country from an operational standpoint, but their products will still be sold by a third party. So GSK will no longer market medicines to healthcare professionals in 29 sub-Saharan African markets. Remember, this is back in 2018. So GSK actually shut down its operations in 29 African countries back in 2018. However, at that time, they said the group will continue to run local operations in Kenya and Nigeria, and South Africa will remain managed by the drug maker's local partner, Aspen. So there was no more GSK in South Africa at the time. It was already being managed by another company called Aspen. But they also said they will retain representative offices in Ivory Coast and Ghana. I believe as we speak in 2023, those representative offices no longer exist. I believe they have fully adopted the third-party distribution model. They also state that the company said these changes, which were agreed at the end of last year, which was 2017, will not stop it from working with governments, agencies like WHO, UNICEF, and Gavi. And they, still committed to driving patient access and so on and so forth. Andra Whitty, who was the former CEO before Emma Wamsley took over, GSK went further than any other companies. GSK went further than any other companies in committing to fair prices in developing countries, with a pledge to cap the prices of its patented medicines at no more than 25% of the developed world prices. But I guess, when the new CEO took over, they felt like maybe it wasn't profitable anymore and decided to cut back operations in Africa. So for, people who might have just heard of the GSK shutdown news, it's important to note that back just about 4 or 5 years ago in 2018, they actually shut down operations in 29 other African countries, leaving just GSK Kenya and GSK Nigeria. And now fast forward to October 2022, drug giants GSK to exit Kenya, right? So in 2022, it was announced that GSK was also now going to exit Kenya, which left Nigeria as the last standing sub-Saharan company with operational presence of GSK in sub-Saharan Africa. So as you can see from here, the pharmaceutical giant has clarified its earlier statement over the firm's exit from Kenya amid the global overhaul of the multinational. The firm, which mainly deals in prescription drugs and vaccine business, reiterated that it was exiting Kenya and instead adopt a distributor-led model to supply the country with its products. So just like what is happening with Nigeria today. So GSK at that time spun off the consumer healthcare business and listed it separately as Helion, which I had mentioned earlier. But also remember that Helion had decided to also leave Nigeria as well. So the production facility in Kenya is a Helion facility and it's not the subject of the update at that time. The announcement was made for GSK business will move to a direct distribution model, which means that instead of having GSK commercial operations, will supply our medicines and vaccines through a third party. It's interesting to note that GSK actually turned down a £50 billion bid from Unilever to take over its consumer healthcare business, but they rejected it because they felt it was being undervalued. So in Kenya, GSK has made a bigger impact with its malaria, HIV drugs, antibiotics. The pharma created the groundbreaking malaria vaccine Mosquirix, which was piloted in Kenya last year aimed at taming deaths, especially among children. Its exit follows disappointing sales for many multinational pharmaceutical companies in the region in the face of competitions from from cheaper generics from India and locally manufactured medicines. While Kenya has struggled to retain and attract multinational manufacturers, it has recently become a magnet for technology firms, financial service companies seeking a hub for a larger share of the African market. So that's something, so like tech giants like Microsoft, Alphabet, Facebook, etc. So while, the multinational pharmaceutical companies were struggling in Kenya with sales and profit due to competition from generics, it states clearly here that the tech industry was, however, moving in the opposite direction and developing and growing. So what have we learned so far? Yes, GSK has shut down recently in Nigeria. And of course, definitely due to economic challenges, challenges in acquiring forex and so on and so forth. But that's obviously not the full story. So there's been a trend of, since the new CEO of GSK from a global perspective took over, of going a different direction and trying to improve profitability across the sub-Saharan region by diverting into a distributor model. So now, from Kenya to Nigeria, GSK's exit strategy takes an expected turn. This is just speaking to the original article from 2018. Looking at the decisions they took then to leave Kenya and Nigeria, but now making it a U-turn to just shut down basically throughout the entire sub-Saharan Africa. Just as we now know, GSK has exited Nigeria after 51 years due to challenges like foreign exchange, complexity, security concerns, and high operational costs. It is adopting a third-party distribution model to navigate these challenges and reshape its Nigerian presence. So the move echoes GSK's previous strategic shift in Kenya and sparks discussion about the evolving landscape of pharmaceutical giants in African markets. So GSK is a major player in pharmaceutical industry and announced an exit from Nigeria following strategic move that parallels their departure from Kenya last year. So Kenya's departure, according to this article, is actually a blueprint for Nigeria's departure. So in a strategic maneuver last October, GSK ceased its commercial operations in Nigeria, adopted a distributor-led model for product supply. The decision aligned with a trend observed among global manufacturers, including Reckitt Benckiser and Cadbury, who discontinued local production due to escalating costs and unpredictable business landscape. So this is very interesting because we all know that some of the initiatives that experts or politicians or everybody is pushing is the fact that we need to ramp up our local production. But I guess the way the structure is set up, not only in Nigeria but other African countries, is that investing in local production is actually way more expensive than importing. But then the challenges of getting forex to have consistent inflow of products without challenging or whatever is also another challenge that they want to transfer to a third party. So I believe that's just maybe the easiest layman's way to describe it. So what's the reason for both exits? GSK's exit from both Kenya and Nigeria underscores the common set of challenges: complexities in foreign exchange, security concerns, rising operational expenses, and uncertainties surrounding policies have emerged as consistent factors influencing these calculated moves, and of course the transition to distributor model. So basically, I think what's happening is the GSK as a global entity is trying to probably maximize profit and amidst some of the economic challenges that they are facing, not only in Nigeria, as we have seen the exit from Kenya previous year, and what maybe many people who are listening to this or have heard the news did not know was also the exit from 29 other countries in Africa in 2018. So we can all make our own various interpretations of what this means for the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria going forward. Should we focus more? Should we try to make local production or local manufacture more profitable for indigenous companies? Should we find a way to help the pharmaceutical companies who depend on importations from other countries to provide certain products available for people in the country? Because we know that I don't think we will be able to manufacture all kinds of products or medical devices or equipment in maybe the next 5 to 10 years or even longer than that. So there's still a need for importation as far as the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry is concerned. But just make of it what you will. What is the impact of GSK leaving? How does this shape the pharmaceutical industry going forward? What kind of decisions do governments, private investors, multinationals, what kind of how does this even impact decision by other multinationals as well? Could they also decide to exit and adopt the distribution model because they probably think it will be more profitable for them? So those are the kind of things that we need to look at going forward. But in terms of the interpretation and predictions or what you think, how you think this is going to impact the industry going forward, I'll leave that up to you. Thank you for listening. If you like what you heard, please remember to hit that subscribe button, like the video as well, so that other people will be able to see it, and then also put on that notification as well, so that you can know when we drop another video. So thank you.